don't think I would say one is better than the other.
Okay.
Relationship between man and nature is changed even further because of this pandemic, because our view of nature changes, because now first of all, this pandemic was happening because man got too close to nature, that these viruses from these bats got over to humans, and we're starting to be a bit more scared of nature because like this virus is scaring the shit out of us.
What the virus does is it goes into the cell, to the nucleus of the cell, and it changes the DNA somehow in different ways. It depends on which virus.
Okay.
But it's like a parasite basically.
So you think that this happened because we were too close to nature?
Oh, but that's.
But that's close, like you mean actually close? You don't mean like close in a sense like we are part of nature.
Like
physically
close.
too close to something. We're breaking ecosystems, probably, right?
Right. So the point is that because we are getting into all these places that humans traditionally did not go, the occurrence of these pandemics is much faster. Like it happens more often because we're all in all these different places. The reason, like these wet markets were the issue, that all these exotic animals were there stacked on top of each other. That's a very human thing, and that's because we intruded these natural ecosystems by collecting all these animals in one place and let them drip their blood on top of each other. And then these crazy super pandemics come.
Yeah, but the virus just goes to the next cell, so.
Yeah,
okay.
So if the cell dies, the virus can move to another one, you know?
Okay.
But also virus is not indefinitely stable and alive, you know? Viruses can also get killed by some things like medication or temperature or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
What could our society look like if we would be part of an ecosystem instead of be disconnected from an ecosystem? Like what if humans would have an active role within the ecosystem instead of like this hovering over the ecosystem? That we become more in symbiosis with our environment.
The research we made around the thematic of architecture and disease led us to question the role of nature in this relationship. Nature is a place of retreat, a source of inspiration, a sublime place, and often no more than a resource. Between loving care and exploitation, threat and fascination, the relationship between man and environment proves to be an ever-present theme that was already of existential importance before the life-threatening consequences of the pandemic outbreak. However, the pandemic altered our idea of nature. If on the one hand, during the lockdown, the feet of city dwellers were overgrowing with baking bread, growing avocado seeds, and entering the woods around the city, on the other hand, witnessing the disclosure of nature made us realize that there are huge forces we did not pay attention to. As we set foot into ecosystems unusual for humans to be in, the occurrence of the viruses increase. The unbalancing of these schemes brought us physically too close and paradoxically mentally too far from nature. So we were wondering, is this disease possibly a manifestation of the Anthropocene? How will our relationship with nature evolve in the next future? How can we rethink our being as constantly connected to ecosystems? Can we push the desire to reconnect to nature to a desire of us integrating back to environments? At this point, Liquid Proxemics is a short film experimenting with where we are, what we did, and where we are heading to, intended to stimulate our minds and senses, while provoking further thoughts about our influence and presence in this world. We started our research by observing how nature proximity was implemented into the recovery from illness. The healthy aspect of nature had a big revival when people were scared about their health during the lockdown. Engaging with nature has in fact been proved as connected with health benefits. Also, our medicine developed looking at nature. Back in history, health infrastructure occurred, blending specific climates and flora with the efficiency of a hospital and the comforts of a hotel. A rural setting was paramount, reflecting the rising geographical importance in nature cures, as well as the method of holistic treatment. The discovery of antibiotics and vaccines in the 20th century changed the treatment and also detached it further from space. The understanding of the human as superior to nature and able to regulate everything is a narrative of modernity. Theoretically, we are aware about the relationship between drivers of land use, the subsequent levels of environmental change, and their health consequences. But nevertheless, we struggle thinking more holistically. We lost the knowledge about interdependence. Confronted with rules for physical distancing, we stumbled upon the study of proxemics, which is the study about distance in social interaction in space. The physical distance between people actually affects the interpersonal relationship. A person's personal space is carried with them like an aura everywhere they go. What role can this respectful distance play in the relationship of man and nature? How can we engage? We started to observe reactions between different materials, trying to learn from them. We use the warmth of the water to drive the exploration, the white of the starch that makes the water cloudy, the blackness of the ink to highlight strong contrast, the density of the oil to encapsulate the drops, and the liquid soap to manipulate the surface. We tried to attribute specific roles to the materials and enact a representation, but there were too many ways to interpret the scenario. We made clear decisions about the succession of the liquids in the Petri glass, but we could not control the outcome. Every time we repeated the procedure, the aesthetic outcome was surprisingly different. We had to give up the thought to have full control. Considering the virus in the context of environmental issues made us draw lines among the similarities between human and virus behavior. A virus is defined as a submicroscopic infectious agent that replicates inside the living cells of an organism. Once infected the cell, the virus changes the DNA and makes the cell produce thousands of identical copies. Viruses are parasites. As we are living now, we absorb the planet's energy by exploiting its resources and violating its nature. Like viruses, we affect our planet and change it, making it do things that it normally wouldn't do. We will always need a hosting cell, a planet. If we destroy planet Earth, will the future generation migrate to Mars? With our project, we want to propose speculative methods to bring awareness on the gap between man and nature. We want to diminish the distance by visualizing the architecture of their encounter. The geometrical intelligence represented in the Petri glass is a visionary world that acts as an instrument for understanding this complex relationship. What if we could enter that world? How does looking through this instrument enable us to create space differently?